Amos 5 and 6. Seek the Lord, and ye shall live, lest he break out like fire in the house of Joseph, and devour it, and there be none to quench it in Bethel. Ye who turn judgment to wormwood, and leave off righteousness in the earth. Seek him that maketh the 7 stars in Orion, and turneth the shadow of death into the morning, and maketh the day dark with night, that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. Yahweh is his name. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to you sincere Akim out there pushing the truth across the 4 corners of the earth. All right, and excuse me for the background noise, but hey man, the scriptures is beautiful, man, because I want to get on this because Amos 5 and 8 it says, what? Seek him that maketh the 7 stars in Orion. All right, and one of the things that we knew about, was the stars. All right, one of the things that we lost being here in captivity is the understanding of how the world around us really works. Right? Because Esau has always offered us his understanding on things. All right, the scriptures say the serpent is going to be loosed, the little season, and deceive the nations. All right, and that's exactly what's happening. We've been indoctrinated with everything pertaining to his system, how he does things, how he wants things done, how he sees things. All right, but when you look at the results of that, and you see what we're dealing with, pollution everywhere, pollution here, pollution there, not even being able to source your food where your food comes from. All right, all of the different pitfalls and snares and ways of death which you see in his system. All right, and all of this stuff goes back to his wisdom and his knowledge and his understanding. All right, because the scriptures tells you when we get back into the land, when the law is established all over the earth and we're in perfection, that there's not going to be any more destruction or war. All right, that's what it said. They would neither study war anymore. All right, so it's not going to be any more war. It's not going to be any more, GMOs, genetically modified food. It's not going to be any of that stuff. All right, but coming back to this, we did have an understanding, because that's another thing we understand coming in, understanding the scriptures. We understand that the sun and the moon are used to tell us the times. All right, the moon being the word month goes back to moon. All right, the different cycles of the moon tells you what week you're in and what part of the year that you're in. Either you have the sun that tells you the different parts of the day. All right, and then the sun, the length of the sun can tell you also what part is in. Like we're in the wintertime, the sunlight comes up 6 a.m. and then it's setting 4:15, 4:30. It's out of here. Versus the summer where the sun comes up about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then it don't set until 7, 8 p.m. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, and then you have the stars too, which give their position, because the stars shift throughout the seasons. They'll shift to this, they'll shift to this position, they'll shift to that position. All right, hey, and this is the knowledge of creation that we've been missing out on, man. Esau took all of this stuff away, hid it for himself, and then lied about it. All right, and that's why it's gonna be no mercy found for you. All right, but let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 17. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely, to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements, the beginning, ending, and midst of the times, the alterations of the turning of the sun, and the change of seasons. All right, so all these things are things that the Lord created for a reason. All right, and Esau knows it. That's why they're able to map out certain things. Then they come with their left hand almanac, and which really they got all that stuff from the Northern Kingdom, you know what I'm saying? The understanding of the herbs and the things to eat and how to how this particular land works. They got all of that from the Northern Kingdom. The Northern Kingdom gave them the knowledge to survive, right? And they weren't supposed to do that, man. Esau was supposed to, you know, if they were in their right mind, they would have let Esau die, but they didn't know who he was, and prophecy had to be played out. All right, so here we are under the umbrella of white supremacy, Christianity, you know, being a slave, you know, being able to have your freedom to taken away, where you have to wear masks and receive certain shots and all this other shit, when you're supposed to be free, but you're not free. It says what? The circuits of years and the positions of stars. All right, so certain stars are in certain positions in the sky. Now, it's not going to be nothing too deep, you know. Oh, we analyze this and the. No, we're just talking about what is, all right? The things that are over our heads. All right? And Esau has it so, because it's called light pollution, all right, where the lights in the cities are so great, you can't actually look up and really see the stars. All right? Now, some nights, you know, they shine extra bright. You can see certain ones, but you got to go to the country in order to really see them. All right? And that's another way we know, looking up, chariots, right? You know kind of where the stars go, and you'll see something shining bright, you know, like that song that Jake says, starlight, star bright, or rather, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. You know, how I wonder what you are. Yeah, because it's not a star, it's a chariot. It's not a star, it's a chariot. Right? And real quick to the point, because it actually mentions it a few times. In Job 9:9, it said, Job 9:8, which alone spreadeth out the heavens and treadeth upon the waves of the sea, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades in the chambers of the south. And when you look these up, it's talking about stars. And Esau, of course, when they named them, they named all of the constellations, you know, they gave them their Greek names and Greek titles, and they took away the ones that we have for them. Right? You know, what do they say? Orion and you know, they'll have all of them. Scorpio, Leo, you know, they'll have all the whole zodiac, you know, up there. All right, but the reason I'm highlighting this is because of this old Negro spiritual. It's called Follow the Drinking Gourd. Right? Now, you might say, well, what is the drinking gourd? Well, let's see. All right, so verse 1, it says, when the sun comes back, when the first quail call, then the time is come, follow the drinking gourd. All right, when the sun comes back and the first quail call. All right, and there the breakdown here refers to the winter or spring. The days are getting longer and the angle, right, it's talking about the springtime. The days are getting longer and the angle of the sun is higher each day at noon. Exactly, it's talking about the spring. All right, when the first quail calls, talking about the spring, refers to the breeding season. Quail in Alabama start calling to each other in early, mid-April, right, the beginning of the year, right, around that time. It says what? Follow the drinking gourd. Now, what is the drinking gourd? So the drinking gourd alludes to the hollowed-out gourd used by slaves and other rural Americans as a water dipper. Used here, it is a code name for the Big Dipper star formation, which points to Polaris, the pole star and north, right? The north. Right, so the slaves are they follow the drinking gourd, meaning they follow the Big Dipper, or follow what we call the Big Dipper. All right, and then that points, as you can see, to the North Star, which is at the end of the Little Dipper. All right, so you following that North Star basically. All right, following that North Star to the north to your freedom. And how would slaves, you know what I'm saying, know how to follow stars? How would they know that? All right, that's because that's what Esau says. You were just a bunch of dumb jungle bunny, niggas. All right, but then they'll also throw some more lies in there. They'll also say, the abolitionists, they showed you everything. Man, no, how could they? How could they come down? You're a slave, and Esau is gonna let them teach you. All right, they're gonna let them teach you, the constellations and all the no. All right, I don't believe it, but yeah, you can see it. Follow the drinking gourd. Yep, the Big Dipper always points to the North Star. All right, and this in the scriptures, man. Job 9:9 said, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades in the chambers of the south. Now, what are these? See, Arcturus, a constellation. Now, this one says a Great Bear, Ursa Major. Right, from the constellation of the Great Bear, for perhaps his migration through the heavens. All right, so that's a star which is right next to the Big Dipper. And you got this one, Orion, which we just mentioned. You got that's another constellation. Then it says Pleiades, 7 stars, a constellation. All right, and here's those. You have so-called Orion, so-called Pleiades. And we get to the kingdom, man. Hey, because the Northern Kingdom, man, they was bad. They have a lot of records on how they could read the heavens, and hey, we always were able to do that. Right? I believe Issachar was charged with keeping the time, and they knew how to keep track the heavens and do it that way as well. All right, now what do the scriptures say? The scriptures say we don't worship anything that's in heaven. All right, so we're not supposed to worship none of this. All right, that's what you have a lot of our people into. They worship the things that are in the heavens. Matter of fact, let's get that. Wisdom of Solomon 13:1. Surely vain are all men by nature who are ignorant of the Most High, and could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is, neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster. And it was him. Right? The Lord created all these things. He ordered everything on this earth for a particular purpose. So there's nothing wrong with knowing and being able to see the stars, you know what I'm saying, and understand, how to see this one or that. It's nothing wrong with that. All right? But the problem comes when you start to worship that, or you start to. That's what the Egyptians were known to do, because they'll go into, how their buildings on the ground were in the exact same position as the stars that were in heaven. And, they thought they were really doing something because they worshiped the things in heaven and the earth. It's verse 2. It says, but deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of stars or the violent water or the lights of heaven to be the gods which govern the world. And that's what they'll say in the Greek, with the Greek gods, the Greco-Roman gods. See, the sun coming up, that's really, I forget which god, Apollo or something. And he's supposed to ride a chariot, and the Egyptian gods, I'm not too familiar, but it's the same shit. Some god is riding a chariot, and he has a fire, and that means the sun is coming up, and then another god. It's a bunch of silly nonsense when you get to it. And so when you embrace the way of life in any of these other ways, and when you understand things and you start to research what they believe in as far as the things that are in heaven, because that's the most important part, man, understanding what they believe is in heaven. And when you go into all these different philosophies, you're going to go into what it just talked about. Gods, it's going to talk about deeming air, fire, wind, or the swift air, or the circle of stars, or one of those things as the gods which should rule over us. When all of these are just creations of the workmaster himself. And it said, with whose beauty, if they being delighted, took them to be gods. Exactly. Let them know how much better the Lord of them is, for the first author of beauty hath created them. The first author of beauty. All right, it's only one, man, and he is, all right, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. But if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them. Okay? For by the greatness and beauty of the creatures proportionally, the maker of them is seen. And the scriptures tells you that the sun, the moon, and the stars, they all are follow their offices. All right, they were set up to be lights. They were set up to for us to understand, how to move around and to understand the times. All right. So that's it. That's all I wanted to bring out. Nothing crazy and nothing deep. All right, but once again, you have many Israelites, man, not just the southern kingdom, but the northern kingdom too. They knew how to follow the stars. They knew how to move around. All right, now people have had that knowledge since the beginning, and some of the other nations, they've had it as well. All right, but guess what? We have the source of what that knowledge is. We have the creator of that system, and we have a covenant with that creator. All right, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Shalom.